How much of your natural environment do you feel a part? How much, when you look around, do you feel is comfortable and you feel kin to? How does that vary based on where you live, how much time you've spent there? Not only where you live and how much time you've spent there, but also how much mindfulness you've put towards your environment. Welcome to you all. This is episode 10 of my weekly webinar, Tune Into Your Body. I'm Dr. Wendy Lee White, licensed naturopathic doctor and physician. And licensed naturopathic doctor, nutritionist, and educator. Sorry, I got a little mindless there. And so today we're going to talk about the idea of foraging. And what led me to this is, y'all know that I started this webinar based on the 5 essentials of healthier people every day. And those essentials are nourish, move, choose, connect, and balance. If you're interested in any of them particularly, you can find a Zoom link for the recording, or now they will all be streamed on Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to drop Zoom at the end of this month, which would be today. So episodes 11 and on will be found in YouTube and Facebook at my Tune Into Your Body Facebook page. So how does foraging fit into these 5 healthier essentials for you to increase your vitality and your resiliency? So if we remember back what choose encompassed, choose was about educating yourself about how you can include more things in your life to build up your health and well-being and vitality, and minimize the things in your life that don't create greater vitality, well-being, and less symptoms. And so things that go under that choose would be the amount and how you sleep. Or other things that go under choose would be the relationships from how does your day-to-day structure look? And does your calendar align with values? Another thing that goes under choose is how well do you do at minimizing your chemical exposure? Chemicals increase imbalance in the body often. So we've got cancer-causing chemicals and chemicals that interfere with the nervous system functioning or interfere with your hormones. So all of those different choices, those things we can do to live in a way that promotes wellness within our system. Why I chose foraging is simply this. I have a fabulous patient in Connecticut who has been a longtime patient of mine, who I had lost touch with for a few years, moving to Oregon, and have recently reconnected. I'm super happy about that. And he was the one, when I lived in Connecticut, he was the one that pointed out a great place to forage black walnuts and the season of black walnuts. I assume is spring, and now it might be fall. I don't even remember. But when I lived there, I remembered, and so does my daughter, Alex. Anyway, I digress. So I get an email with a suggestion that let's talk about foods that are around us in our environment, that many people who strive for the perfect lawns use a lot of chemicals to suppress and kill, that really actually can be a fabulous food source for us. And he particularly asked me about red clover, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I thought, what a great idea to offer a webinar discussing foraging and the idea that our health increases when we feel more deeply connected to our environment. And what better way to foster that deep connection with our environment, with nature around us, of which we are a vital, integral part. what better way to foster that connection than to explore and to not see that black and white vision of the world of weed, you should die, flower, we should feed you, weed, you should be eradicated, flower, we're going to give you fertilizer. But see that there isn't a black and white system at all, that within nature, everything serves a purpose. How I'm going to open that discussion is regarding the dandelion. Oh, I wish I'm on my computer, so there's no way I can show you the back of my computer. I have this beautiful dandelion seed when it's seed stage, so it's the fluffy white thing that when you blow on distributes all the seeds everywhere. I have this fabulous screen cut to put on the back of my laptop that is that dandelion, and then it has some individual seeds kind of blowing in the wind across my laptop cover. I also had that same decal in my office, in my Connecticut office. And why, you might ask? Oh, I also have a very beautiful paperweight. I have no idea how they did it. They assured me that it was authentic and that it's an actual dandelion in its seed stage inside. But it's this round paperweight that's some sort of acrylic, plasticky polymer thing, but it captured the dandelion in its full fluffy glory. My office, I'm right now in my home office. Anyway, I digress again. I have to also say that I am in a conference today, tomorrow, and Saturday. And so it's virtual. I didn't fly to Dallas, Texas to attend in person, but I'm attending and I'm giving it my all. And so I'm all excited and I'm all pumped up because I'm in this fabulous conference since 7 a.m. this morning, because of course it's in Dallas time starting at 9 a.m. And so I feel as though I have a lot of energy from this day. And so you might hear me a little more rambly than I tend to be, because this is me when I get excited. And I did actually make notes for myself. Often I do these webinars and I just kind of flow, but I anticipated this today. So see, I have my little notes of the outline in general of what are the things that I want to talk about today with you, which hopefully will keep me on track. However, you definitely will hear my digressions. So dandelion, why do I love dandelion so much? A, mainstream poisons them. And I like taking things under my wing that mainstream makes a lot of assumptions about. And so here's the dandelion. I see it as food and medicine, and mainstream sees it as something we should poison. It doesn't matter if we're hurting the good bees or the good flowers. Let's poison those dandelions because they make our solid green lawns look imperfect. I hope you hear the sarcasm in that. And so dandelion. Now, you'll often hear me talk about how we are an integral part of nature, that we are not separate from it, that we are within nature. The only reason we perceive our separateness is we live, many of us, not all of us, live in houses with walls and ceilings, and we have artificial lights, and we have ceilings, and we have heaters and air conditioners and air purifiers and all that stuff. And we feel separate. But here's the deal. When we're in winter, our digestive tracts can get very sluggish. We tend to eat a lot more warming, slowing, comforting foods throughout the winter time. Think about your environment. Now, I live in Portland, Oregon, and so many things do continue living throughout my winter season. So I'll kind of use Connecticut as a better example of my point. Many things die off during the winter, and it can be very brown and dormant. I used to say lifeless and dead, and that sounded a little less respectful, so I think dormant is a better word. So think about the dandelion leaf. One of the first green things to come up from the ground early springtime. It's not just a coincidence that dandelion leaf contains bitter components that help when we eat them, that help us to stimulate our liver, jumpstart our digestion, get us going, breaking that, not full hibernation, but breaking that hibernation during winter. So the next time you see something growing around you, rather than assuming it's a weed that has to be taken care of so that the grass can grow better and with less competition, if you stop and how, why is that here? Why does that grow at this time of year? Why does it flower at this time of year? What purpose is it serving? Is it providing food for the butterflies and the bees and the humans and the animals around it? Does it serve a purpose because it's doing something to the soil that is needed for the soil to be rejuvenated, to be able to grow more life? So it's all about that perspective, that mind shift. Anything you ever hear me talk about is going to be about that mind shift. So it is 11 after the hour. I just want to welcome those of you who have joined me since I started. This is episode 10 of my weekly webinar, Tune Into Your Body. I'm Dr. Wendy Lee White, licensed naturopathic doctor, nutritionist, and educator. And I started these weekly webinars so that everyday people had access to listen to options they have in life, easy, everyday, moment-to-moment options on a wide variety of areas of life: food, movement, hydration, choices, sleep, toxicities, nervous system, etc., so that everyone can know that each and every one of us has choices. None of us needs to feel powerless. None of us needs to feel like we don't have control. Even in life, when we're coming from a place where we don't feel like we have a lot of control, we always can find something. We can have the power to walk around our environment, look and see what is available for us to forage. So we're going to talk about foraging as it feeds into the idea of choose and my 5 essentials. And before I do that, I just want to also mention the idea that when I talk about any of these things on my webinars, in my blogs, in my social media posts, when I'm interviewed on podcasts, when I do public speaking at events, just know that this is authentically me. This is not the naturopathic doctor part of me telling everybody what they should do in order to be healthier, and then I go home and I live polar opposite of what I'm discussing. This is authentically what I believe to be true for myself, for my loved ones, for you all. It's what I authentically believe would make the entire world a better place if more of us did. There is never an expectation of perfection. We are all human. There are some things that, frankly, are just going to seem like too much work for where we are in life right now. That's fine. Take that information and let it pass right through your brain. But take something, take at least one thing from any reading or anytime you hear me speak. Take at least just one thing that you make note of that resonates for you, that you can go implement into your life. So let's talk about foraging. Now, for those of you who don't know, I was in Connecticut for 13 plus years, and I've been in Oregon just under 4. And I have to say, I felt a part of my Connecticut natural environment. I felt very comfortable going out into my backyard. We had a 1/4 acre or so in Connecticut, and I felt very comfortable. And it was not well manicured, so we had a lot of opportunities for exploration. And I felt much greater connection to my environment there. Here, I'm more in a city. I'm in a rental property. I have less land. And frankly, I'm just less familiar with the native weeds or opportunities for foraging that are here in the Pacific Northwest versus what I found in Connecticut. So because I have followers in both places, I'm going to start with Connecticut because I want to talk about kind of what the things I found there. And then I'll talk to you about what I'm doing here in the Pacific Northwest to expand my knowledge and to increase my comfort level with the natural world around me. So in Connecticut, oh darn, I knew her name all morning and her name just popped right out of my head. Hopefully it will come back to me, and my apologies to you. She called herself, I think, the Wild Weed Lady. Darn, I can't remember her name. Anyway, I'm sorry. Alex and I, when Alex was young, we went to a wild weed lunch that was super fun. And we got to talk about some of the herbs or weeds, depending on your perspective, that could be found within kind of a natural overgrown area, unmanicured. I don't even know how to, like, the proper way, a more natural environment. And then she sent us out and we harvested some and we made a wild weed salad and we made some stinging nettle soup and we made some herbal tea based on what we had found. And some of the things we found there that we had talked about that day, some I had known about before and some I hadn't, was purslane. Purslane looks like kind of a succulent, so it has a shiny, fluid-filled leaf. There's a proper botanical name for that I'm sure my friend Orna could come up with, but and it's super high in a vegetable source of essential fatty acids. So everyone who's saying that they need omega-3s from fish, well, purslane also has omega-3s. And it grows, for many of you, you might even see it like around stop sign poles, in between the cracks of the sidewalk. It's incredibly resilient and it is incredibly good for essential fatty acids. And of course, whenever I say, oh, it's good for essential fatty acids, that doesn't mean that's its only value. Its value is in its existence at all. Knowing one thing about it might be helpful, but that doesn't mean that it's the main thing or that it's the only benefit that it serves for us as humans. Let me back up and say also, if you find something at the side of the road and it's a very highly trafficked road, you might want to consider leaving that there, because we know that plants are amazing filters. They take up toxins through their air, their water, their roots. And so if something lives by the side of the road, you might want to be hesitant about consuming large quantities of it, because basically it has consolidated throughout its entire life the poisons that are in its environment. So purslane is one thing that was included that day. I've already talked about dandelion. Many people don't realize that clover, red and white both, are edible, the flowers and the leaves as well. Violet leaves, violet flowers, chickweed, cleavers. Cleavers are fun. They look like little fireworks. And how to know that they're cleavers is when you go to touch them, they stick to you a little bit. They have these little hairs that just stick to you. And my intention in this webinar is not to give you enough information that you can go out and find things. That's quite dangerous. My intention for this webinar is to just pique your interest just a little bit, to want to know a little more about how you can forage for a little bit more in your environment safely in an educated way. Sorrel is another thing that I think is super fun. It looks similar to clover, but it is smaller leaved and it has little white tridents on the leaves, as do clover. And sorrel tends to have these little yellow flowers and they taste almost lemony, which is fun. So I'll give you an example of why it's important to, I'll give you two examples of why it's important to know what you're picking before you eat it. Three examples, actually. The first is sometimes in large quantities, those plants cannot be safe. So as an example, sorrel, as well as other oxalis family, I think it's a genus, has high levels of oxalic acid. Not a big deal for those of us who have normal mineral metabolism. But if someone has gout or kidney stones, then it would behoove them not to eat large quantities of this family of plants because oxalic acid interferes with calcium and mineral metabolism. So in someone who is already having a hard time, they wouldn't want to add to it. So that's one example of why you just want to be careful that you understand what you're doing so that you're not putting yourself at risk and you're being safe. The second reason you should be super careful is because some plants have lookalikes where that lookalike is poisonous to a human, but the safe one is actually super nourishing for us. So we want to make sure that we're identifying adequately. And the third is that some foods will do best if they are cooked or boiled first as opposed to being added to salad. So when I first began to explore foraging and becoming more comfortable being a part of nature and knowing my natural environment, that was kind of my first question. Salad or stir fry? Is this something that can safely be eaten and digested, therefore absorbed? Because if you eat something you can't easily digest or absorb, it's going to really irritate your digestive tract. And irritation can lead to all sorts of snowballs that I treat all the time, every day in the office. Whereas some plants do best when they are boiled and then eaten, or stir-fried and cooked and then eaten. In fact, many leafy greens, you actually don't get the minerals out of them unless they are cooked and the cell structure has the ability to break down. Then you can take and get more of the minerals out of those plants particularly. So, another one of my favorite, my last favorite in Connecticut is lamb's quarters. You can cook it like spinach or like you would any other green. And it really can be an invasive weed. And so for those people who, I actually tried to seek it out and then plant it, and I wanted it in my yard, I planted it in containers. And that way it could only spread as wide as the container from the root base anyway. So let me just break in for a little station identification. This is episode 10 of Tune Into Your Body, my weekly webinar. I am Dr. Wendy Lee White, licensed naturopathic doctor, nutritionist, and educator. And I started the Tune Into Your Body series a little over 2 months ago, really helping people to know that they have choice in all aspects of their life, every moment of every day. Nourish, move, choose, connect, and balance. In all aspects of our lives, we can be empowered to make choices that help us to be more vibrant versions of ourselves. We all are human. We all have weakness parts of us. We all have systems that need support. And by looking at the choices we have in life, we can help support those weaker systems and really allow the strong systems that we all have to just soar and to carry us along gracefully. So red clover is a particular one that my Connecticut patient had just mentioned, and I had known it as a salad kind of addition, and I really didn't know much about the cooking aspects of it. As I was looking into it, I was all excited because I learned that you could actually make a flour out of the dehydrated flowers and leaves, a flour, Flour, made out of the flour, Flower, and leaves dehydrated and ground. And it's one of the highest proteins of a plant-based flour. So I thought that was quite fascinating. See, these are the things that fascinate me, that make me want to know more and make me want to learn more. So I already mentioned that I was much more comfortable and at ease in my natural world in Connecticut, in not just Connecticut, but really in the Northeast. I was more comfortable with the forests and the plants in the Northeast. And I've been here in the Pacific Northwest for about 4 years, and I don't have that comfort level. So I want to share with you 2 particular places that I have played with recently. This first one is a book called Wild Remedies, How to Forage Healing Foods and Craft Your Own Herbal Medicine. You can see it's Rosalie de la Foret and Emily Hahn. What I love about this book is many of my references are strictly from a botanical medicine standpoint, not from a harvesting or a foraging, but from a medicinal plant, herbal medicine, the active constituents. It's all from the medical standpoint, and I wanted more from a lifestyle standpoint. This book divides things by season. And so it goes through spring, early summer, late summer, autumn, winter. And of course, it has the foundation section that talks about the safety of plant identification. This Wild Remedies book, for those of you who follow me online and you saw me post, it was right at my mom's birthday, April 10th or so. I posted a dandelion cake recipe. It was made with like 2 to 4 cups of dandelion flowers. And so thankfully, my landlord hadn't mowed in a while, and so I was able to go out into the backyard and harvest all the dandelion flowers, and then spend a while picking the petals, the yellow flower petals, away from the green base, the semen? I don't remember. Anyway, and I made a dandelion cake. It was like a zucchini cake with, the dandelion petals in there instead of the zucchini, and then there were dandelion petals on the top that were quite beautiful. And that came from this Wild Remedies book. So this Wild Remedies gives you a little bit of background of where to find the plant, how to harvest it, what parts of the plant to harvest, and then it gives you the best ways to use it as food, whether it's cooking or salads or stir fries, or like I said, in that dandelion cake was pretty fabulous. So that Wild Remedies book is one of my new favorites because I'm trying to increase the familiarity in the Pacific Northwest. Another website that I really like is Practical Self-Reliance. And so if you Google that, I don't know if it's that directly or if there's a hyphen in there or anything, but Practical Self-Reliance is a website that I go to quite a bit. And it's just, a blogger I believe she's in Vermont. She's not in Pacific Northwest. But I love the idea of being more connected with nature, more sustainable. And that's where I got the tidbit of making the red clover flour out of dehydrated flour and leaves from the red clovers and having it be high in protein. So what are your takeaways from today? Your takeaway 1 is we are an active part of nature. And the more connected we feel to nature, the healthier our systems are going to be. So am I saying that we can increase our health just by paying attention to the weeds around us? Yes. Am I also saying that we may even increase our health if we participate and interact and pick and eat the plants around us? Absolutely yes. I almost said a bad word. Absolutely yes. So the more we can increase our mindfulness, increase our knowledge, and participate in picking clover, dandelions, oxalis flowers, lavender, things that we can see often around us. Purslane, although I've saw it in Connecticut tons, I haven't yet seen it in the Pacific Northwest. That is my goal for this next year, is to find purslane and where it grows here. The more we actively participate, we can choose to be more part of nature and increase our health and vitality through increasing the health and vitality of our environment. Because we are not separate, because we are living human beings in this natural environment, the healthier the natural environment is, the healthier we are. And the healthier we are, the healthier our natural environment is. If you notice, the less pesticides you use in your yard, the more abundant the colors and the growth, drawing more birds, more bees, more butterflies, which then pollinate better, which increases the growth better, which nourishes us mentally, emotionally, spiritual, and physically. That is all I have to say today. I hope that was helpful. I hope that got you interested just a little bit in connecting with your natural environment, not just for the what can it give me, but from the we are connected, let's explore together. And the healthier we are, the healthier our environment is. And the healthier our environment is, the healthier we are. Have a lovely week. Next week, we will be talking about music and the physiology of music making us healthier beings. It fits into the choose and the balance part of our 5 essentials. So next week, we'll talk about music. Have a great week, and feel free to send me any feedback, questions, topics that you'd like to hear. I am open and willing to serve you. Take care. Have a great week. Bye-bye.